As long as the strong continue to oppress and tyrannize the weak and vulnerable, there is a role for militants or guerrillas. For how else can the victimized win or regain their freedom from those with superior arms? Remember, it was militants, also dubbed terrorists by the well-armed oppressors and their powerful supporters, who brought the fight and eventually justice in the United Kingdom, the IRA, South Africa, the ANC, etc. Freedom fighters should never lose their humanity in their struggle, though. And that is what Hamas, under the leadership of Mohammed Deif, did on October 7th, when they invaded sections of Israel, killed, maimed, and kidnapped innocent women and children, instead of those who had their heels on their necks. In the USA, where press freedom is supposedly held up as being sacred, suddenly, all criticism of the Israeli government's actions, which led to the inexcusable actions by Hamas, are condemned by the traditional media organizations as either anti-Semitic, taken out of context, or simply censored. This despite the fact that the Israeli government comprised of Likud and other far-right malevolent parties, and led by Netanyahu, since 2022, extremely unpopular and has been facing massive resistance at home. For it is not all Israelis, inside and outside of the Zionist state, who support the oppression and the campaign by settlers, operating under the protection of the Israeli Defense Force, to murder and terrorize Palestinians to steal their land, as is the regular practice in the West Bank. So, while Hamas has to be condemned for the brutal attack on civilians on October 7th, which left some 1,200 civilians dead, and more than 240 taken hostages, the vicious retaliation on all civilians in Gaza by the Israeli army, which killed almost 7,000 children in 40 days, is beyond the pale. The Israeli government has not only relentlessly bombed over 1 million civilians, destroyed their homes, all possessions, even bombing hospitals carelessly, but also later deprived those who managed to survive of food, water, and electricity. This is simply beyond evil. When war is declared, truth is the first casualty, warned Samuel Johnson. And what we were told by most of the mainstream media in the USA is the most blatant evidence of this I have ever seen. There is a temporary respite from the bombing, as some Israeli hostages are being released, as well as Palestinian prisoners. This exposes the truth behind the popular perception that Gaza is the largest prison in the world. Prominent among these prisoners are women and children who were detained and locked up indefinitely without due process, for crimes as trivial as tweeting or throwing stones at Israeli soldiers, guarding settlers who stole their lands after killing and maiming their parents and relatives. The world cannot sit by and allow that country, with the backing of the powerful USA, to continue this vicious and unconscionable campaign against women and children in Gaza.